Handling batteries is another aspect of electronics repair that is pretty important to understand. In most modern medical equipment, you'll find batteries that look like this, and these are lithium-ion batteries. In older devices, you might come across something that looks like this, and this right here is a sealed lead-acid battery. They're a lot heavier than lithium-ion batteries. But even for lithium-ion batteries, they can take on many different sizes and shapes. So, for example, all of these are lithium batteries. One thing you might notice about most of these, except for this one, is that the lithium-ion batteries all have plastic Molex connectors at the end, or in this case, has a large shield made of plastic over top of the actual connectors. And this shield is important. Especially with lithium-ion batteries, it's very important that the two leads do not get shorted out for any reason. Generally speaking, lithium-ion as a general chemistry is a lot more dangerous when it comes to power storage than it would be for sealed lead-acid batteries. So you can see, for example, this lead-acid battery just has bare contacts on the end of the battery. And even that's a little bit unusual. Usually there would be at least one rubber cover over one of these two terminals. To have them both exposed like that is a little bit uncommon, but it is something you need to look out for. The largest concern from this is if something falls across these two terminals that's made of metal, it would short these two out and allow a large amount of current to flow between whatever is being placed on top of that. And that's more unhealthy for the battery itself. The battery is not usually designed to put out that amount of current. So the battery, in this case, this sealed lead-acid battery may become damaged by doing that. With lithium ions, it becomes a lot more dangerous though. If the two ends are shorted out and there's direct current flow between one path and the other, the internals of the battery are going to heat up very quickly. And when lithium ions fail, they usually fail in a pretty spectacular fashion. What would probably happen is the battery would start swelling up as it heats up. And there may even be a charge controller on the inside of it that limits the amount of current, and it may just cut off power entirely to the battery output, and in that case you wouldn't be able to use the battery anymore. In the worst case, these batteries can explode, and I mean in flames. That's especially true if these become punctured. So if you were to accidentally take a screwdriver or something with a sharp edge and poke it through one of these batteries, it would puncture the cells inside of the battery and most likely would start releasing a lot of smoke, but occasionally they have been known to catch on fire or explode. And the larger the battery, the more dangerous that becomes. For example, this battery right here might just be one cell. It may have maybe two cells, but a battery like this may have like up to 8 cells, and each one of those cells can detonate individually, so it would go off like a Roman candle. So fortunately for you, the chance of accidentally shorting these out is greatly reduced by having these guards in place to physically prevent things from falling into here and shorting out the two leads. Not so much the case for this one, although this is a relatively specialized type of battery, but you can see it has exposed leads at the end here. So this has the potential to short out much easier than these ones would. And even though this is a very small battery, you can still see here that there is still a fire and explosion hazard. So in the previous videos, generally taking these batteries out is pretty simple. They usually just either slide out of the device, or they may have a clip that unclips and you just pull it straight out. An important aspect to keep in mind is that if you're pulling it out and it has wires attached to it like this, you don't ever want to pull it from the wires. You always want to pull it from the plastic Molex itself. Because what could happen is you could pull this wire straight out of the Molex and the two wires could bridge together and short out the battery. When you have the battery out of the case, it's generally a good idea to take a look at the physical shape of the battery and see if there are any bulging areas. So for example, this battery here looks fine because the top and bottom are straight lines and there's no obvious signs of bulging. It would be more obvious with a cell like this one, but even that looks okay. You'd start seeing it balloon out a little bit, if it was going bad. Same for this one. That one's fine. This has even been known to cause things like screens to pop out of devices as the lithium-ion battery swells up. It can actually start lifting devices. For example, like a trackpad on a laptop. If the battery was underneath here and started swelling up, it could actually pop the trackpad off of the keyboard. But if you do see a battery that's swelled up quite a lot, or just looks deformed in some way, good idea. Don't use it anymore. Find a replacement or order a replacement and send these to a electronics recycling center where they can be recycled properly, because you don't want to throw these in the trash because they may get crushed by the trucks or the compacting machines that they have at the waste facilities, and may cause these to explode. And you know, lithium ions are just not good for the environment anyway, so best to recycle it. Probably the most important thing you take away from this video, if anything else, if you have one of these batteries, especially one of these large ones that catches on fire, don't try and put out the fire. Leave the room, call the fire department. You don't want to breathe in the smoke from this. It's difficult to put out lithium-ion fires, and like I said, these tend to explode, so you may have shrapnel and parts of the battery shooting out of it that are on fire, and you don't want to get hit by one of those. So if you have a fire with one of these, it'll probably be over pretty quick if it's a small one like this, but if it's a large one, each one of these individual cells may rupture individually, so this could catch on fire for quite a while. Call the fire department.